And I just want to start, first of all, by welcoming you all here. We are here again. Who would have thought this time last year that we would still be on Zoom? It's a new day. We're living in the post-COVID world, and I don't think that this particular mechanism for meeting is going to go anywhere soon, even when things open up and our masks are thrown aside. I appear to see. So I just want to remind everyone, if you would, to stay on mute. We have our enforcer, Marissa, over there, who has the power to mute everybody. So if there's extraneous noise, she will hit that button, the panic button, and you may find yourself suddenly on mute when you thought you were live. If you are speaking, certainly unmute yourself before you start to speak. You are more than welcome to drop questions into the chat feature on Zoom, which is at the bottom, probably at the bottom of your screen, depending on how you have it configured. So drop questions in there. John Kimberly has graciously agreed to monitor that chat because I will get busy with other things and forget. I know I will. So he's going to take care of that for us and bring things to the attention of whoever needs to address questions in there. We also want to reserve the right, of course, to come back to any issues that arise that need more discussion. Again, this is a group that loves to talk, and there are great ideas that come out of this, great thoughts. Anything that comes up today, we certainly can do a town hall or a meeting. It's as easy as setting up a Zoom link. So let's reserve that opportunity as well in any area where there are questions or further discussion is needed. I want to also kind of offer a quick explanation of what this is about, because there may be folks on this call today who have never been to St. Paul's annual meeting. And I'm hoping that as we move forward, there will be many people for whom an annual meeting is a first-time event, and that it will be something that they do every year. But I kind of want to explain what it's about and why we do it. Briefly, of course. So the annual meeting is the opportunity for the corporation, for the parish as a corporation, to come together to elect their representatives to the vestry, and also elect a delegate to the diocesan convention. We have a vestry now of 12 individuals. We were a vestry of 16. And the vestry amended the bylaws to bring the size of the vestry to a more reasonable number, and one that is more in line with parishes of the same size and flavor as St. Paul's. So we did that over a period of, I believe, 2 years, Clark, I think.
Yeah, it took about that long.
So there was a little bit of jockeying there, and as it turned out, so this year, to get to that number, there is one vestry member who, one new vestry member who will be brought on board. So we will vote for that individual. The way our candidates are brought forward is through the bylaws. A nominating committee is appointed in February by me in consultation with the rector, me being the rector's warden, whoever that happens to be. And the nominating committee invites parishioners to submit names of people that they would like to be considered for membership on the vestry. The nominating committee vets those individuals, makes sure, of course, that they're eligible for that sort of thing, and most importantly, willing to be in that position. And then they bring forward, as they will today, the names of individuals that they would like the vestry, or they would like the parish to vote on. So that is going to happen. You will see that we do our very best to follow parliamentary procedure, especially at the beginning of this meeting. There will be a number of things on which we will be asked as a corporation, as the parish, to vote. Last year was a trial run with using the poll feature of Zoom, and it went pretty well. So we're going to do that again. Marissa is standing by with her finger on the other button, which will launch the polls that will then put an option on your screen to vote yes or no, or to choose a candidate, depending what the question happens to be. So that will unfold, hopefully, without a hitch. As far as our delegate to the diocesan convention, we have 3 delegates. And like the vestry, individuals rotate off and new individuals are brought on every year. So we have George McNeely, we'll get to that later, but George McNeely will be rotating off of that 3-year term of being a diocesan delegate, and we will elect a new person. This is a great vehicle for ensuring that we have room for new leadership to grow in the parish and to bring that energy, new energy, to what we're trying to do. So we'll look for that a little bit later in the meeting. So I think that's all for kind of introducing what we're going to do. And I would ask at this point if Albert would offer a prayer for us to get started.
Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be with you. And I've chosen a prayer that's used on Good Friday, which is one of my favorite prayers for the church. So let us pray. O God of unchangeable power and eternal light, look favorably on your whole church, that wonderful and sacred mystery. By the effectual working of your providence, carry out in tranquility the plan of salvation. Let the whole world see and know that things which were cast down are being raised up, and things which had grown old are being made new, and that all things are being brought to their perfection by him through whom all things were made, your Son, Jesus Christ, our Lord, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen.
Steve Pearson, if you would open our meeting, please.
Okay. I call to order the 166th annual meeting of St. Paul's Church, Chestnut Hill. And I appoint Clark Groom as annual meeting secretary.
Hey, Clark, thank you very much for being the expert on minutes that you are.
Oh, I'm expecting a check.
Yes, well, don't hold your breath. So thank you for doing that. We appreciate it. So typically we would have, well, we do have the, and I think, Marissa, did you drop the report in the chat?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so the annual report.
I'll drop it again.
All right, thank you. The annual report contains the minutes of last year's meeting. We have the option to read those minutes aloud, or with a motion from the floor, we can vote to accept or to agree that the annual meeting minutes from last year not be read aloud in their entirety. So if someone would make a motion, or would like to make a motion to that effect, please do. Unmute, please.
So moved.
And is there a second?
Seconded.
So any discussion before we vote? Okay, you should have on your screen the option of whether you agree or do not agree to have the minutes of last year's annual meeting read aloud before we vote to pass them or accept them. Please go ahead and vote. And you will need to hit submit at the bottom. And Marissa, if you could let us know if they have indeed passed with a simple majority, or if we have agreed, but by simple majority, to not read these aloud.
So currently we have 45 people who have voted to agree not to read the minutes aloud, and no votes for disagreeing.
And there are 54 participants on the call, so that's a majority.
All right, it's messy, but I'm going to call that passed. The second issue that I need input, that we need to vote on, is whether we will approve that the minutes of last year's meeting, that they be approved as they appear in the annual report.
Poll 1 has appeared again.
Marissa, we need poll 2, please.
I've just launched it.
Okay.
It shows poll 1.
Maybe the second one. If not, we'll take a voice vote.
It's actually labeled wrong. It is poll 2. It's just labeled as poll 1.
All right, we're looking for approval of the minutes. And it's okay. If we can't, let's do a voice vote. So I'd like,
It is actually, it's clocking up. I see 20 people have
Okay.
voted, so people are voting.
I already deleted it, so.
let's do a voice vote if we could. So let's go with a voice vote. So I need a motion to approve the minutes of last year's annual meeting as they appear in the annual report. Could somebody make that motion for us?
So moved.
Okay, and a second?
Second.
Second.
Wonderful. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And abstaining? Thank you, they pass. So much drama.
And you're really glad I didn't have to read you 6 pages of last year's minutes.
All right. We on to appointment of judges, Ruth?
Yes,
I'll take that as a yes.
yes,
I
thank you.
hereby appoint as judges of election Stuart Graham, Alex Jones, and Charlie Head. And I want to thank Madeline Schroth for chairing the nominating committee this year, which includes Liz Brooks, Cheyenne DeMolder, Van Williams, and Charlotte Betancourt. Thank you to all of you.
And Madeline, would you kindly present the report of the nominating committee?
Yes, thank you. And thank you for reading the participants. Good morning, all. We had, I think, I should say, a slow start with our committee in terms of people raising their hands or making recommendations, but we rallied in the end and got some good recommendations for people. Again, we are nominating one vestry member for a 3-year term and one delegate to the diocesan convention for a 3-year term. And the nominees are for vestry, Denise Jones, and for the delegate, Hillary Burdett. And let me thank my committee for all their good suggestions, good questions, and recommendations.
Thank you, Madeline, and thank you to Denise and to Hillary and to the nominating committee for their work. So the next thing we need to do as a parish family is I would like to, if someone would make a motion to close the nominations for vestry and diocesan delegate.
So moved.
So moved.
And a second, please.
Second.
Is there any other discussion or anything from the floor? Okay, hearing none. I think we'll do this just as we did before with a voice vote. All in favor that the nominations for vestry and diocesan delegate be closed. Now we are voting to close the election. Okay, so we're good closing nominations. So all in favor of closing the nominations for vestry and diocesan delegate, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed to closing? And abstaining? Okay, that passes and we will vote on the slate. So the last vote we're going to do today is to, I need a motion to approve the slate recommended by the nominating committee. That's Denise Jones for our vestry, a new vestry member, and Hillary Burdett is our diocesan delegate. I'd like a motion, please,
So moved.
and a second.
Second.
All right. All in favor of approving the recommended slate, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstaining? It passes. Congratulations and thank you to Denise and Hillary for your service.
Yay.
Thank you. Congratulations. Yep.
And
So welcome to you. And I would like to say to our outgoing vestry members who were acknowledged in church this morning, but I would like to do it to the greater group here. Outgoing vestry members Cheyenne Mulder and Lisa Budd, thanking them for their service on the vestry, a 4-year term. It's a long time. It's a big commitment. And they did a wonderful job. And I think it's very important to realize and to acknowledge that both Lisa and Cheyenne are a very strong presence in terms of our family, youth, and or children, youth, and family ministry. So we need to be very mindful that those initiatives and that ministry still has representation and is in the front of our minds. It's so important for growth going forward. And I'd also like to thank our outgoing diocesan delegate, George McNeely, for his service in attending convention. So thank you very much, George. George continues to serve on the vestry and in stewardship, and you'll hear from him a little bit later. So thank you very much. So next on the agenda, we're going to hear from Albert, the interim rector's report. So Albert, it's all yours.
Thank you, Ruth, very much. And so I hope you get a chance to read my report that I've written. And I've basically reflected on this past year, knowing what a great challenge for all of us it's been. And I just wanted to recognize my staff colleagues who have worked, tremendously in tremendous difficulties to continue to support the ministries here. Paul Diefenbach has been in the office and he has put together this remarkable report that you have before you. Andy, the music department, Dan and all his great ministry that he's done, Marissa, communications, been added now with John Ree, Kristen, dealing with our accounting and keeping us out of jail, all of that. So I wanted just to say we have a great staff team. They have put up with a lot of changes, as you all have, and I just recognize them. And to thank the vestry and everybody who is chairing committees right now. I see a great way in which the parish has been working together, trying to come up with a clear mission. And as I shared in my sermon this morning, the core values that have come up that we will begin to share among our committees and kind of spread that throughout the life of the church. I think this is going to be a really good grounding as the parish begins a new chapter with a new rector. So I don't want to kind of repeat myself. The report is written. It has been an honor to serve this parish. I'm very excited I'm very hopeful that all of the good work that we have done together will continue to bear fruit. And this time next year, you will have a new rector giving their reflection on the past year. And I look forward to that very much. So thank you, Ruth and the vestry, for your call and the ways in which we have served our Lord together. It's been an honor, and I look forward to seeing the fruit bear from that.
Thank you, Albert. It's quite mutual. Amazing to work with you as well. Steve and I are going to tag team the next part of this. So let me just share my screen with you. And remember last year when we were all stumbling around trying to figure this out? We still are. We still are.
We got it.
Okay, here we go. There it is. All right, so greetings from your warden. So obviously, I'm Ruth, and Steve Pearson is on here as our parishioner's warden. So last year, Steve and I came to you at this time and in our report with the metaphor of a garden and what is needed to make St. Paul's a healthy environment in which our new ministry and our church would grow. And so it was just, the potential for metaphor with a garden is just, it's endless. But really, what were some of the questions we had to think about as far as what would grow well? What do we need to tend? What do we need to pull out? What do we need to do to enrich the earth in which everything will grow? What weeds keep growing back? So all of those kinds of questions have been on the agendas on the agenda of the vestry, and also our ministries. All of our lay leadership have been thinking about that and really taking a hard look at some of the behaviors and practices that we have in place and what should stay and what might need to be looked at again. It's not just like a garden, it's messy. And certainly none of this has been linear. So, and it is still in progress. It's like painting a bridge, we'll get to one end and then we'll have to go back and start again at the beginning. So it's an ongoing process. In the annual report and from what you will hear today, You're going to hear and see how clergy, staff, and lay leaders have been working together in preparing and tending this garden. So this, I think, is a time to do a kind of a quick progress toward goals. We've come to you pretty much quarterly with progress toward our transition goals. And I just want to highlight a little bit about where we're kind of mucking about right now. Did I mention it's messy? It is a little messy. So these are the goals that were laid out by the vestry. And if you were a participant in the town, any of the town halls over the last year, these should look somewhat familiar to you. If you're able to, if you're having trouble seeing this, you can slide all of us over to one side. If you are creative, you can do that. But I have highlighted the goals where we're putting quite a bit of energy right now. And a lot of this is toward how to give our new rector a solid landing, or depending on how you look at it, a smooth runway to take off. So very important to not have to spend a lot of energy figuring out who's doing what the rules are. And it all can be very dry, but it also can be very interesting and a new opportunity to kind of start fresh and say, how do we do this? Why are we doing it this way? Is this the best way to do it? So some change is coming out of this. There's more, of course, that the new rector will want to bring to this, but the goal is to have as little confusion or messiness around rules, procedures, policies, roles, and expectation. So we have reviewed, we've clarified, developed new policies and procedures. Areas that we've addressed include fiscal policies, clarification of roles and responsibilities of the vestry, of the wardens, of the clergy. Our budgeting process has been clarified. Mechanisms for the development of new lay leadership. So really looking at that, if we're going to be, we've asked this person to come and help us grow. So if we're going to grow, do we have mechanisms in place to incorporate people and to develop new leadership? So we need to look at our structures and make sure that we're systemically prepared to welcome as many newcomers as possible. We'll talk a little bit about that going forward. We've done a lot of work around planned giving. You're going to hear from George about that. And then our resources for children, youth, and families. So that is not a complete list, but it is certainly sort of where our heads are right now. And as Albert said, I think we've met more than 25 times as a vestry, and we will meet this afternoon after this meeting. So it's a very hardworking group. So I want to thank my fellow members of the vestry, and also I want to give a shout out to Louise and the search committee for the amazing work that they have done this year. Just in getting, I mean, it's a tough job. I've been there, Louise, it's tough. They have been amazing. Our parish profile has been described by rector candidates as being stellar. Other parishes in transition have reached out to us and asked to use it as a model in their discernment. So well done. It took a long time, but it was done well, and I think it's going to bear really good fruit. So Steve's going to take this part. I think it's important for you to know that a steering committee for the actual transition of our new rector has been formed, and they are meeting. So what we're going to talk about now has come out of some of those conversations. Barbara Abbott, who is our search consultant, was a part of those conversations. And we really need to think about, okay, God has called our rector. We will soon know who that is. So let's talk about how we're going to welcome and support this new person and their family when they get here. So Steve, it's all you.
Okay. Well, the first thing we want to focus on is managing expectations. And the biggest, most obvious expectation is that when the new rector arrives, everything will get back to, quote, normal, end quote. Instead of such an expectation, let's expect that we can continue to be as flexible and open-minded as we have been during this awful pandemic. Another outsized expectation is that our new rector will be a superhuman being, equipped to solve every problem and repair every fissure within the parish, in addition to encouraging every initiative put forth and every ministry's dream. Rather, we need to realize that we have offered up quite a tall order for our new rector. and are asking for an almost perfect human specimen to step into that role. And importantly, we should keep our hearts and minds open to new ways of accomplishing what we need to accomplish and put away outdated expectations in this time of change. So back to you, Ruth.
Thanks, Steve. So the other thing I think we need to be mindful of as a family, as a parish family, is that we need to allow time for love to grow. So any new relationship takes time. So we need to allow the grace of time and space to ourselves and also to the new rector. It may take a while for this person to fall in love with us, as lovable as we are. It may take a little bit of time for that to happen, and vice versa. We're getting to know a new person. And when we throw in the challenges of masks and new faces and so on, it's an extra challenge. We need to allow the time, again, going back to the garden metaphor, to allow the strong roots of the relationship to form. And it's going to be done a little differently than we've had to do it in the past. So because of that, and because it may take a little longer and it may take a different path, I would like to, from this chair, say that we should commit as a parish to withholding criticism of our rector, our new rector, for 1 year. This is a big challenge for St. Paul's. We have high expectations, and I'm not saying we shouldn't have high expectations, but we need to take our expectations and put them in the form of supportive suggestions and to withhold judgment, keep our open hearts and open minds, reflect on our old habits and expectations and behaviors that are going to impede our growth as a parish and the success of the new rector's ministry. So I think we need to prepare ourselves to offer support, to be outgoing, to be forthcoming with support and suggestions and encouragement, and just think at how we're offering this to this new person. I cannot imagine coming from some other known community, bringing your family from I don't know where. Louise will let us know very soon in the coming weeks from whence this individual is coming to a strange community, a new place to live. If there are children, they're coming to a new place. And again, post-COVID. So let's be mindful of that. Let's withhold judgment, criticism, all rooted in goodness, I understand, but we need to really be supportive of this individual. So let's help each other to do that. Steve?
Okay, thanks. Yeah, in terms of what Ruth just mentioned about being welcoming, one of our first priorities should be to welcome with open arms our new rector and his or her family. We want to make them feel at home. We should participate in creative, welcoming festivities for our new rector and family. Step up and contribute to making such festivities as successful as they can possibly be. And try to put yourself in their shoes and try to anticipate their needs. Be helpful with questions around education, community, shopping, and the like. And finally, understand that these new additions to our collective family are encountering a whole new community overnight. Help them to know us by wearing our name tags and updating our pictures and our other information on the website. Not only will that help our new family members to get to know us, but it will help us to get to know one another again after a long winter of pandemic. Ruth?
Thanks. So, love this graphic. And I want, if you take nothing else away from what Steve and I were talking today, picture this. You're in the pool and you want to get a good start to get to the other side. You start in the middle of the pool. Sometimes it's hard to get yourself moving and to get where you want to go. What we want to do collectively and what we want to enable our new rector to do is to push off the wall, to be able to have that momentum to come in and have a smooth swim to the other side. I know I switched metaphors. We're out of the garden, we're in the pool, but This is an image to me that's really helpful, is trying to make sure we can have momentum and that we don't spend a lot of time floundering about, doggy paddling and gasping for air. So all of us doing what we need to do to get that strong push and help the rector hit the ground running. That is the goal. So thank you for that, everybody in, and please stay tuned to ways that we need everybody involved in this welcoming to help the rector get on his or her feet. Right, any questions or anything we need to stop and address? All right, more to come, don't worry. All right, Steve Camplandis, it looks like you sent me a PowerPoint and I will pull that up, but you are up next as I get your slides going here.
Okay, so I just want to start off by saying that we have been very busy this year in terms of focusing really on process at the Finance Committee. We've spent a good deal in just in terms of thinking about what kinds of a process do we need to support the next rector going forward, and I think we've made a lot of progress. I want to thank the members of the Finance Committee. There are 10 of us: Liz Brooks, John Grigger, Steve Hyman, John Kimberly, Dick Kolb, James Pope, Teresa Rollins, Bob Smith, and Nicole Tullo. All of us, we have a big responsibility in terms of advising the vestry and the rector on the financial affairs of the church, and we all make a contribution to the various aspects of this ministry. And I want to really thank all of them for what they've contributed. So in terms of, I don't know, Ruth, are you able to share the screen? Okay, right, so if you just go down, Marissa, to the third slide. Great. I just wanted to highlight our accomplishments over the past year, which are, I think, really important. And we did all of this in the middle of a pandemic, which did create some financial challenges for us. Perhaps most importantly, we ended the year 2020 with a $42,000 surplus in our general fund, which was a major accomplishment and an improvement over 2019. We spent a great deal of time thinking about budget process issues this year, and the vestry adopted a new, more inclusive budget process for us going forward, where the rector will be appointing a committee each fall, which will include representatives from all the standing committees and the major programs of the church: the music program, children, youth, and families, and outreach. And that committee will be charged with responsibility for creating the annual general fund budget. And we hope that will sort of help us all have a better, more constructive dialogue about budgeting issues going forward. The third item that was a major accomplishment was monthly reporting. We are now preparing a much more comprehensible monthly report on spending and revenues that goes both to the Finance Committee and the vestry, and it's designed really to distill all the information to the most important key aspects of our spending and revenues, with the goal of ensuring that we maintain a balanced budget each year. We implemented accrual accounting, which will be reflected in our 2020 financial statements from our auditors, and that's also an important process change because it will help us, I think, it will simplify our reporting in some ways and help clarify the actual amount of revenues that are attributable to each calendar year. The vestry adopted a 2021 budget that is balanced and maintains programs as we have known them, and also increases funding in certain key areas that include property maintenance, technology for virtual worship, stewardship, and also includes some anticipated expenses related to the search and the transition to the new rector. And then finally, the investment committee, which oversees the endowment, oversaw a very positive year in terms of our investment performance. The endowment returned 9.3% in 2020, which was a solid result. The next slide. This is just, I wanted to just highlight for you the budget. I know that this is something that people do spend a lot of time thinking about, and it's the sort of this is the really where the rubber hits the road for the parish financially. It's the general fund budget, which is our primary operating fund. And I just wanted to highlight for you what it looks like for this year, 2021. The giving component, which is pledges and all other non-pledge giving, is 65% of the budget, which is $730,000. We receive an annual draw this year from our endowment, which is constitutes 17% of the budget. We also receive 4% of our budget from the Lavino Trust, which is a generous foundation that supports the church consistently. There's a small component of other categories. And then finally, the federal PPP program is providing 12% of our revenues in 2021. That program has provided a lot of help for us during the pandemic, and we rely on that, as you can see, for 12% of our revenues. The next slide details the expenditures for 2021 in the adopted budget. As you can see, 54% are for personnel. That's both full-time and part-time clergy and lay personnel. 15% is program. 6% is our contribution to the diocese. 9% is administration, which is primarily office-related expenses. And 16% is for property. And that includes maintenance, utilities, taxes, and insurance. Okay, moving forward. The last slide, I just wanted to talk about what our agenda is for 2021. There's still a lot of work to do. The first item is we want to implement our new budget process with the incoming rector. That will take place in the fall. We have a lot of work to do around ensuring adequate maintenance of our facility, and we're going to work closely with the property committee to improve planning around capital issues and budgeting so that we can ensure adequate and timely facility maintenance going forward. This is an agenda item that I think is also very important in terms of transparency. I would like to focus more on how we report our financial affairs to the parish. We've been doing a lot better with the internal reporting, but I think we could do a little bit better in terms of reporting to you all, which we're going to work on, which could mean a new annual report format. We have some additional policy and procedure work to do, which we're going to be working with the vestry on, additional areas that would require some clarification. And then finally, various things that we need to do to think about financial sustainability and how we can support the long-term financial sustainability of the church, which could include things like initiatives to grow our endowment resources, initiatives to increase the rentals that we receive from our facility. Any sorts of things that can sort of provide new sources of income are things that we do need to think about so that we can ensure that we maintain our programs going forward for the long term. So that's all I have. I'm happy to take any questions, or if any of you have any questions or concerns or comments, please email me. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Steve. All right, so I think I was actually going to put Louise in there, but I think we're kind of eager to hear from Louise, eager to hear from everybody, but I think eager to hear from Louise where we are in the search process. So Louise, would you like to give us an update, please?
Yes, absolutely. And I would love to be able to do what Albert did, which is to say, just read my report in the annual report. But since I wrote that last week, it has changed. The update has changed. So I'm just going to go ahead and read. I've rewritten it, and some hasn't changed though. Some important things that I really want to call to your attention. So the current status of the search is this. The Rector Search Committee is getting near the end of the discernment process. We have 2 finalists. One finalist and their spouse have already visited St. Paul's, and one will be coming this coming week. The process began in the fall last year when Ruth invited a really excellent group of people to be on the committee. And I want to tell you about this in a little detail because it's made a big difference. There are 11 of us. We represent the whole variety of ages, genders, services, ministries at St. Paul's. The members are Colin Brown, John Fagati, Matt Hyde, Denise Jones, Michael Latini, Chesley Lightsey, Tom O'Rourke, Steve Pearson, Kristen Poole, Nicole Tullo, and me. Most of us didn't know each other well, and some of us didn't know each other at all before we agreed to be on the committee, which was commissioned at a service in late November. But once we got going with our regular Tuesday evening Zoom meetings, and then eventually Thursdays too, we got to know each other much better, and we realized we all have something very important in common. We all care a lot about St. Paul's and its future. We've also been guided by our marvelous consultant, Barbara Abbott, and by Carol Shepard's analysis of the 7 generations at St. Paul's. So when you see any of these folks, thank them for giving so much to our parish. As you know from knowing these people, many of them, most of them even, have jobs, businesses, children, so much to do, and they have just given so much to St. Paul's. It turned out there were a large number of clergy from around the country who were interested in coming to St. Paul's. I will tell you the number because this isn't going to give away anything. 24 applications were received. So we developed criteria for whom to interview based on the qualities the parish said it wanted in the survey and the parish profile. At this point, I want to stop and thank everybody for participating in the survey and the people who wrote the profile based on it. There were, as you may remember, 300 written comments to the survey, in addition to just answering the questions. And that shows us that everybody else cares too, you know. Once we'd done just a few interviews, the committee members realized that because we found we all care so much, we want to really listen to each other's observations and opinions because we help each other discern more thoughtfully. And then after many first interviews and half a dozen second interviews, we narrowed the candidates down to 3 finalists. The one who has already visited us will now be interviewed by Bishop Gutierrez by Zoom. We scheduled 2 other visits, but then one of those candidates called us back to say they had accepted a call to another church. So the second finalist and their spouse will be visiting this coming week, and then they will request an interview with the bishop. After next week's visit, we'll take the final step of discernment and choose one finalist to recommend to the vestry. In late May or early June, there will be 2 vestry meetings a week apart. The first to nominate the chosen candidate as rector, and the second for the vestry to vote on the nomination. Once the vestry and bishop approve, we'll call the approved candidate and call them to come to St. Paul's. And then there'll be the business side to attend to, agreeing on salary and benefits and developing a contract. And then we'll coordinate with that person to announce their calling here on the same day as they announce it at their current church. And after that, we have a new rector. I would just like to add one little thing to Ruth's garden metaphor, because I'm a gardener and I hear the aphorisms. For perennial growers, you may have heard that when you plant, first the plants sleep. Well, that part's been done. We've already, put them in the ground. The next step is they creep. So there's going to be a period when we, listen to each other, and all of our finalists said the first thing I do would just be start listening to people. And then the third thing that happens in the garden is it will all leap. So we will all have time to help the new rector, as Ruth has already said. And the transition team, which is already working on all aspects of the transition process, would like your help if you're willing to help with any of it, which goes from everything to a meal train the first week the new rector is in there, wherever they're living, to celebrations and the business side. And so please help, and thank you so much for supporting us.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you to the search committee. And this is exciting. This is exciting. It's been a long road. It has been a long road. Any questions for Louise or for any of us about what you heard? Again, they'll occur to you later. You know how to reach all of us. So please, there will be other conversations, other opportunities for conversation as this all unfolds. All right, so George, would you like to go next, please, and talk a little bit with us about planned giving and stewardship?
Sure. So I feel a little bit as if I'm preaching to the choir, because I think all of you, or pretty much all of you, are pledgers, consistent pledgers, for which we thank you very much. But so it was kind of an odd year for all of us for various reasons, but it was an odd year for stewardship. And so, as I think I discussed back at St. Paul's Day, we decided to take extra efforts to make sure that our 2021 pledging effort was successful at a time when we were all somewhat distracted and confused, and also financially perhaps worried. So we expanded the number of committee members, and we brought on board an outside church fundraising consultant at a modest cost to just help make sure that we were thinking of everything and covering all bases. We've also started doing regular outreaches to parishioners, sometimes about stewardship, but sometimes for other reasons, because we're seeing that part of what we all need to do is be stewarding each other through these complicated times. So I want to thank everybody who helped make the calls, the various calls, and I specifically want to thank the amazing Janice Fiore, who kept us all organized on. That was a lot of paperwork and effort on her part to make sure everybody knew their calls and knew what they were doing, and et cetera. She's been amazing. We also were very happy to receive a challenge grant for our 2021 pledging from a particularly generous parishioner, so that we were able to match both any new pledges that came from people who had not pledged before, and also anyone, longtime pledgers, who increased their pledge for this year. So that was a huge help in helping boost our efforts. And so we were delighted that we exceeded our goal in the midst of a rather confusing year. I want to thank everybody on the committee for all their hard work. There's one word of caution, which is that we had a goal of increasing the number of what we call pledging units. So a pledging unit is either an individual or a family. That's, in other words, that gives. Our goal was to increase it by 35 pledging units. Because we want to be in both bringing in new folks to St. Paul's, but also encouraging people who do participate in our various ministries to think of giving annually and pledging. We did bring in about, I think, 30 new pledging units, which was great. We almost met that goal. But the challenge has been that at the same time through the year, we lost about 30. So it was either through death or through people moving away, et cetera. So that we held steady in aggregate, but we all need to be thinking about expanding the parish. And I know, of course, the new rector is going to solve all our problems, as Steve told us. But we can't rely necessarily on that poor individual. So we all need to be thinking about people we know and encouraging people to get more involved, which is going to be important in all sorts of ways. So go into this year, the stewardship committee has been continuing to meet. We decided we're going to meet all year round. And I guess Dick Kolb was commenting that it didn't used to be this way, but it seems appropriate. And we have a great group of people, and I think at least I enjoy touching base with everybody. So we meet twice a month, sorry, not twice a week, to continue discussing. So we've already started discussing the 2022 campaign. We've come up with some theme ideas and some graphics. And so we're going to be starting that a little earlier this year even. At the same time, a big project this year, as I think somebody mentioned earlier, maybe Ruth mentioned, or Steve actually said, is kind of reviving our planned giving program, which we call the Company of Angels. That was a name, and it was a group that was started decades ago. So the Company of Angels are people who have agreed to leave funds in their wills to St. Paul's. And we've seen that something like 20% of our annual income comes from people who have left funds in the past to St. Paul's. So it's very, very important that we all remember to think of St. Paul's in some way in our wills. And so we've been reviving focus on that. So I'm sure people have noticed in happenings, there have been lists of people who are members of the Company of Angels. And if you have left St. Paul's in your will, just a quick reminder, please let us know so we can include you in that Company of Angels. Or if you are planning to, then also let us know. And also check your names, check your spelling, check that if you are in there, you're included, if you've already done it. So, because we as part of this sort of revival process, we're having to scrounge around in the files. And then I think, what was I just wanted to again say that we really do feel the telephone calls that Janice has been encouraging have been a great thing. I think we had 35 people who helped with making the pledge phone calls in the fall, which was amazing. We just decided we wanted to encourage as many people as possible to be part of pledging and showing generosity, both through their giving and through their efforts and the reaching out to others. So that was a wonderful, wonderful effort on behalf of Janice. And so we thank all the people who have been involved in whatever way through this year, through planned giving, through stewardship, through the phone calls. And that's it, unless there are any questions.
I'd just like to make one comment as somebody who made a lot of phone calls during the course of the year. And that is that, and this should encourage other people to be part of this program, I think I got as much out of those phone calls as the people I called.
Great. Thank you, George. Thanks, Clark, for that comment as well. George, thank you for your work and that of stewardship. A lot of energy there and doing great work. So thank you. Okay, Mark Duckett, would you like to share the latest from property?
I would. Are you able to see my screen?
Yep.
Good.
Yes, yes.
Good, thank you. So like everybody else, I want to start by thanking the property committee. And if there's a theme here, it's how much people are involved in this parish. And this group that you see before you is just doing remarkable, remarkable work, especially now that we have funding available from the capital campaign, and we're really making great progress on that. But I want to single out one of our members, Pam Bracey, who always makes sure we stay spiritually centered in our task and opens the meetings for us with prayer if Albert or Dan are not available. And after a particularly, for me, dispiriting week of finding a lot of unknown conditions in the church, I think, Albert, you began your prayer with the prayer about making old things new. Well, we are doing that. We have inherited an old thing. But Ham, instead of sort of bemoaning the notion that, well, here's something else we have to spend money on, offered this wonderful prayer of gratitude for being the people who have been selected to shepherd this through to a new day. And I thought that that was so helpful to me personally, but also a great context within which to view the work that we're doing here. So I just wanted to show a few photos from what's happening on the campus, some things that we're focusing on: columbarium, grounds and landscaping, Dixon House, the sewer, site lighting, new electrical service. You can see it's a list that goes on and on and on. Some things have been done, some things are in process, and some things will be done. So just a photograph of the columbarium where you see the resodding. It looks great there. John Fagati is really focusing on landscaping. We have new flooring in the Dixon House. If you have not been there yet, it looks really wonderful, and getting ready to hopefully be able to reuse that, to open that space up for use again. On the front for the capital campaign projects, we had the flesh inspected. You can see this gentleman who climbed up on the roof and up to the spire. That is in great shape, so that was good news. And we are starting construction. This is a dumpster that is currently in the driveway. If you haven't been to campus, there's a lot to see. The site lighting is in process, so all of the power has been run for that. We have the bases in for the light standards, so as soon as those are delivered, they will be installed. We have a new electrical service on the Chestnut Hill Avenue side. We have the vault ready for our new 3-phase 1,000 amp service, which will allow us to do a lot more safely than we have been able to do. Here in the bowling alley, you can see new conduit that's been run for replacing all of the electrical panels. And in the kitchen, we are opening up the ceiling so that we can properly vent the hood, which has not been vented properly for these many years. And then in the education wing, this is in the library on the second floor, we will be installing a roof hatch accessible from inside so that we can maintain the roof properly. We've had problems in that area for a long, long time, and this will help us maintain that work. While the organ is out, we also have the opportunity to clean and relamp all of the lights in the sanctuary. So probably starting in early June, we will have lifts in there to start the cleaning process for the masonry and all of the woodwork, and replace all the lights and the fixtures, many of which are burned out, as we all know. Future work that lies ahead of us is the parish hall. You can see what some of the existing conditions there. And then importantly, at this time of transition, we have are targeting funds to set aside for rectory renovations and restoration, as well as moving the offices back into the church proper, back to the actual address of 22 East Chestnut Hill Avenue. All of that work is made possible by folks who have already fulfilled the pledge to the capital campaign, those of you who continue to make your pledges, and anyone who would like to make a pledge toward that work. It's important work. It is our place in this world, and we look forward to just continuing that and setting us up for this next important chapter in the history of the parish. So, any questions or comments that I may be missing there? All right, hearing none, I will turn it back to Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Mark. Again, thank you to the members of the Property Committee. It's just astounding to me that everyone you're hearing from here, these committee reports, this is lay leadership that has been supported and developed in the parish. Everyone is just, they're volunteering their time, they're bringing their gifts to this. we're hearing from our standing committees, but it's for all ministries, for outreach and for music and for children, youth and family ministry, resource ministry, and everything that's happening. These are people that, jobs, lives, children, elder care, everything. So thank you to all of you who are giving so much of yourselves to St. Paul's in this capacity. So, and property, did you even know what you were getting into when you, you joined on the, it's a lot. So you're doing amazing work, and the target keeps changing. So before I call for other business, I just, I've been thanking people as we go along, but I again want to thank, Albert and I want to thank Dan, both of whom are really in all of this that's been going on, helping to keep all of us spiritually grounded, to keep our core values front and center. It's a little easy to get caught up in what you think you should be doing and how, and moving forward and pushing and, trying to make it happen. And they've just been so steady in, at least I can say for me personally, just keeping us grounded in what it is, why we're doing what we're doing, and the ultimate goal. So thank you to Albert and to Dan. You've been just wonderful. So that is it for the committee reports reporting out today that I had heard from, but I certainly would like to open it up and ask if there's any other business or anything that anyone else would like to share, anything we need to know for the good of the order.
I would like to hear more about the music, what our future is. And we are going to Europe, hopefully. Next year, we're going to England to sing. But we would like to know when we can take the masks off so we can sing.
So that conversation started at the beginning of the meeting, and Albert, you had shared with me just recently something from the bishop that I think preceded the CDC kind of surprise announcement, I believe.
Yes, we had another advisory on policy changes and the diocese. And I just want to say, the program that's been most impacted by COVID-19 has been our music program. And I know just how difficult this has been for Andy, for the choirs and so on. And it's extraordinary to see, this morning, to see our staff singers up there, to see volunteers beginning to come back to sing in the services, to have our choristers. I saw them out rehearsing on Thursday night outside in the rectory, So I think there's just amazing work that has been done. And the vestry has not had time yet to look at the bishop's recommendations and to look at the news that's surprised a lot of us about mask wearing. Our policy right now is still we wear masks in church. And until there is a vestry decision that's got support from the bishop, that's what we're doing. I think from my chair, I'm seeing a lot of people who are vaccinated. So there are much more liberal rules about how people can be responsible about that. So we had a worship committee where it was certainly fine for people to sit beside their friends or their family members in worship. We saw that this morning, people sitting together. So this is going to be a moving target through the summer. It is really good news that the vestry has given the thumbs up for you all to go to the UK next year. That's something to look forward to. And so the vestry is totally behind everything that the music department is asking for. The vestry has supported, and I see that as it's a really good modeling of how we work together. All the boats can rise when we collaborate, and we're all on the same page. So I see St. Paul's has come a long way in this past year, and the way in which outreach, for instance, we just heard Andy told me that $6,000 was given, raised by Five Fridays. A lot of people supported that, in the outreach program supported that. So we're beginning to kind of collaborate in a way that is helping all the boats rise.
And thank Andy too for the amazing job that he has done in keeping the caliber of the music so high during all of this pandemic. And our staff singers have done such a tremendous job in keeping the church music afloat. And we all appreciate them and thank them.
Amen.
Absolutely, Diane. Thank you for sharing that.
And one thing in the bishop's letter that Albert didn't mention, Diane, is that he has authorized, if the space permits, a smaller distance between the singers and 18 rather than 12 singers. Now, the vestry has to act on that. We have to figure out whether it would work for St. Paul's, but the diocese is beginning to move forward as well.
Clark, it's 12 singers. I don't think he said 16 just yet.
It's 12 now. He said, I believe his letter said we could go to 18 if we had the space. I may be wrong. Let's not check the letter.
Okay.
Andy's correct. It's 8 now, and they're authorizing the expansion to 12.
Okay, I don't know how to count.
I appreciate the sentiment.
Well, 12 is, yeah, that's right. It's going up by a third.
We'll get there.
Messy, messy, messy. But well, yeah, we'll get it. We'll get there. We will get there. Other business for this family meeting today?
This is Lynn. I'd just like to thank everyone who participated in the car wash as a washer or donated to the car wash. And I know we passed the $600 mark to send to Standing Rock Reservation so far, but it's just been really wonderful to see everyone who is supporting that effort. And I think for the young people of our church to be able to feel like even though we couldn't send a group to Standing Rock this year, we were still able to let them know that they're in our thoughts and prayers, particularly in how hard COVID has hit Native American communities in the past year. It was just really important, I think, that we not drop off the face of the earth in our relationship with Standing Rock Reservation. Thank you to everyone who made that possible.
Thank you to you. Thank you to you, Lynn. And I just want to ask you, I couldn't stay to do the car wash, so I gave Sam, I think it was Sam, or maybe it was Theo Latini,
Yes.
a bill, and he stuffed it in his pocket immediately.
Yes. Yes, yes. It made it to me and then to Stuart and then to the church. Yes.
They were working so hard.
It was really like special because I don't know if you guys have seen the three boys, but their ages vary, and the oldest was sort of in charge, and the very, very youngest took on the role of cleaning the license plates of the cars extremely well. And you just should have seen him with his little rag, scrubby, scrubby, scrubby. And it was so nice to have them feel so proud when the cars looked beautiful. It was, and Esme, who is going to be headed to college next year, and who did participate in one of the Standing Rock trips, came as well, and it was nice for that. It's sort of the older youth and the younger youth together. It was just great. It was just beautiful. It was beautiful.
Great, thank you for that.
Oh,
there they are. Great.
Can you see the little guy by the license plate and how soaped up that license plate is? Oh my goodness, those license plates were clean.
You know, I'd want to thank Dan for all his work this past year with the Family and Youth Council, and just give Dan an opportunity to reach out and thank people and share what's on his heart.
Yeah, thank you, Albert. I just want to say thank you to you, Lynn, and Joanne for kind of running the car wash this last week. It's just a small example of how our lay volunteers have really come together and adapted in a difficult year when our children, for most of the year, couldn't be on campus. So yeah, I want to say a special thank you to Sarah Latini, Beth Starantino, Lynn Williamson, and Kathleen Carnac Glaspie for recording the Godly Place stories and to Liz Brooks, Kathy Davis, and Joe Fafara for helping us to deliver at-home kits to kind of supplement these online stories. There was a lot of pastoral care and a lot of work behind the scenes to make that possible. And I think it benefited a lot of our families with young children. And then just wanted to congratulate two, Maida and Charlie Budd, Juliana Bruckner, Livy Stites de Mulder, Ben and Olivia Hayes, Elizabeth Piercy, Sophie Pietkowski, Gus Platt, Cecilia Stevenson, Drew Warnick, Luella Whitaker, and Ellen Williamson for completing the confirmation class. And most of them have been confirmed. Some are waiting because of COVID, but it was a great group, and they adapted to moving to a virtual format almost, within, I think, 2 weeks of starting the class. And they met for 9 months over Zoom. So not your average confirmation class. They put a lot of hard work in, and we're very proud of them. Want to say thank you to Kathy Davis, Joe Fafara, Sarah, and Michael Latini for being, I think, the first group in our parish to adapt to an online format, and they ran Parents Exchange over Zoom. Besides worship, I think worship was the first, but and they've been meeting regularly to support our parents through what's been a difficult year for parents and figuring out how to raise kids in all of this. And then I'm also really thankful to Liz Brooks and Cheyenne DeMulder for being the co-chairs of our new Children, Youth, and Family Resource Ministry. This ministry met monthly and was kind of a sounding board from all the different children and youth family ministries to be a voice to the vestry and from the vestry. And that was really important with all the changes around COVID protocols to have that clear line of communication. And they did a lot of work in recommending policies that the vestry, so did a lot to help with the vestry, and just really appreciate all of their work. And Cheyenne is rotating off of vestry, and so we'll miss you, but thank you for all your work with that. There's so much more I could say. The other big thing is in terms of administration communication, to switch gears. So we have an internal database called ACS. That's what you use to give online. Thank you so much to all of you who've been giving online through the pandemic. I'm sure that's been helpful. But we're the version dates to around 1998, and we're in the third decade of the 21st century. So we're updating that database to the newer version, and so there's going to be information coming your way. There'll probably be an email where you have to just click. It'll be really easy and update some things. It won't be hard, but there'll be information coming from the staff. So when you get that email, don't be alarmed, don't worry, and we'll be here to help you all through that. But just wanted to keep everyone aware of that change going internally, and that's going to help us in the office communicate better. I think communicate better parish-wide. It'll make it easier to give. And that goes with our new website. It'll be a nice gift for the new rector. So be aware of that coming up.
Thank you, Dan. Anything else? Tom, did you want to offer anything from outreach? We'll put you on the spot here, but certainly want to give you the opportunity if you'd like to say anything.
I'm not going to add to Charlotte's, I thought, very complete memo to the annual report. That was pretty comprehensive. So we had a good year. We had a good year, and we had a lot more people involved than we've had before. So we're looking forward to the coming year.
Fantastic. And I wanted to invite you to say something, because I want to thank you for your leadership as well. So and in keeping things going with outreach this year, because clearly the need was there.
We've added Cheyenne as a co-chair, so we have 3 of us now, and we're very pleased with the addition.
That's great. Wonderful. Well, thank you to all of you. All right, any other business? John, is there anything from the chat that we need to address?
No, I don't think so, but there is something that I did want to just say, and as we pass accolades around, I think our parishioners warden and our rector's warden have done outstanding work in keeping us all together during these trying times. And the teamwork between Ruth and Steve and Albert and Dan has really shone brightly. And I want to make sure that we recognize particularly the Ruth and Steve team. So thank you both.
Thank you,
Thank
John.
you. Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
Appreciate the thought.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I forgot one other thing in terms of adult education. Just wanted to say thank you to Jonathan Nidock and Charlotte Kleiss for continuing to hold Bible study and adapting to a new format. We continue to do our adult forums online over Zoom, but also did clergy conversations. And also thank you to Kara McShane for leading an anti-racism book club. It's a new addition to our adult education, and they've been meeting weekly on Zoom, and so that's an exciting new group that's happening. And Charlie Affel for all of his work in helping us with, especially with the 9 o'clock service and really all of the services around Easter, figuring out how to do the AV stuff outside. We could not have done it without Charlie and of course Marissa.
Accolades all around. It's amazing. Staff, just the adjustments that people have made and everyone just rising to the occasion. It's just been amazing. And some people think of a transition period as kind of a lull, just kind of hang out till you call a new rector. This place has been hopping. So thank you to everyone again. So thank you so much. Order of business, the annual report, you can all enjoy sitting outside and reading that this afternoon. It is available, I believe, on the website. Can somebody, Marissa, can you jump in and tell us where to find it? I'm afraid I'll send people down.
Sure, yeah, I'll actually just link it so that we all have it.
So when you say you're linking it into the website? Or well,
Into
it's here
the
in the
chat.
chat. Yeah, it's here in the chat. So you can, all of you who are on this call can go ahead and click on that link and have.
It lives presently on the live stream information page on the website, which is when you go to the home page, it's on the upper right hand corner, which also has all information about live stream and stuff. It will move for right now, but it's going to stay there for the next coming weeks.
Okay, so if we go on the website where we go to get the link for the service, that's where it will be?
Yep, that's absolutely correct. That is exactly where it will be.
I have a quick question. It's Helen. When do the books close on giving data to the directory revision? What's the close date on that? Does anyone know? The parish directory?
It doesn't actually close because we are constantly updating the record. So if people move, I mean, one of the things that came out of our calls we made, there were people, new phone numbers, new email addresses. So, but I like the idea. I think Steve Pearson reinforced the idea of if you want to upload a photograph, that's going to be really helpful for the new rector to get to know the parish. So that could be something that we can promote.
If you're not sure how to do that, actually the way it's embedded in happenings and on the website, it's a little Google form, like a little survey, and you answer the questions with your information just to confirm it. And then at the bottom, it says upload photo. So if you have a photo of yourself somewhere on your device, you should be able to just hit that upload button and hit submit, and it will go where it is supposed to go. And again, this is an internal thing. This is for our new rector and also for us to know who's who. The other thing is if you are you're just not feeling it, and that is not a comfortable way, just, give one of us a call and we'll do a drive-by and we'll take your picture. I mean, it's a real simple thing. So don't let the technology scare you off. Just give a shout and one of us will do a drive-by. It's not a difficult thing. Or if you're on campus, everybody's pretty much got a cell phone with a camera, or you can do a selfie and send it to one of us or send it to the office and they can upload it. All right. Any other business before we ask Stan to This a closing?
Ruth, it's Madeline. I just wanted to add to the accolades. The people that have helped support the worship all through this transition and have sort of bounced around as things needed to change. It was a smaller group. You're part of that group that really were able to come into the church and to help support the liturgy. So I just thank you to everybody who did that. And we're looking forward to growing back up to our full strength when time comes. So thank you all.
And I hate to be the bearer of bad tidings for the vestry, but about 10 minutes after we're finished with this meeting, we're going to have a vestry meeting. So
thanks for the reminder, Clark.
I just want to quickly thank Ruth for her leadership, and it's been just tremendous working with her.
Totally.
And, she's really the one who steers the ship. So thank you, Ruth.
Well, thank you, Steve. Jeez, it's a group effort.
Bravo.
My goodness. Thank you. I appreciate that. And Stuart, you were looking right at me a minute ago. I just wanted to thank Stuart, who has been a steady presence in the narthex for worship, welcoming everybody, one man welcoming team. I mean, we've all been, everybody who's been around has been welcoming, but Stuart has been just a steady presence there in the narthex. So thank you, Stuart, for that. Quite a gift. All right, so vestry, shall we say 12:10 that we convene on the link that is on Basecamp? Take a breath, grab a refreshing beverage, and we'll be on that link at 12:10. And if there is no other business, I'd like to ask Dan if he would offer a prayer for us, please.
Sure. The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Almighty God, giver of every good gift, we give you thanks for the ministry of the Reverend Canon Albert Ogle during this interim period. And we ask that you would look graciously on your church and so guide the minds of those who shall choose a rector for this parish, that we may receive a faithful pastor who will care for your people and equip us for our ministries. Through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Thank you, everyone. This meeting is now closed, and we will see you between now and the 167th annual meeting. Take care. Stay safe, everyone.